Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me? I want to do a little bit of a sound check. Can everyone hear me? All right, awesome. Let's get started. So welcome to everybody here. I want to do a quick poll here. How many people have attended a class before? If you've attended a class before, just sound out in the YouTube chat section right now. Awesome. So if you're attending another class, welcome back. If this is your first class, welcome to these classes as well. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be focusing on the fundamentals of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So just a little bit about me. My name is Giri. I go by GPAL. I'm a self-taught programmer, and I have a keen interest in learning as well as teaching programming. And over the past year, I have taught programming to about 3,000 students, both online and in person. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to build the front end of a landing page for a fitness app. So the concept here is, imagine you are the web developer, and the fitness app is one that sends you an email with a 5-minute or a 6-minute high-intensity interval training workout. So the idea is we're going to create the basic landing page. So that's the idea here. And we're going to be focusing on the most important HTML tags. At the end of it, you're going to understand that. You are also going to get a sense of how you can design your own websites, how styling works. And at the very tail end, we're going to focus on a little bit of JavaScript, just very, very minimal, to show you how you can make your website interactive. That's not quite going to be the focus of this class, but I'm going to teach you a little bit of JavaScript at the end of it. So for those who are new, there are 3 principles that guide these classes. The first idea is really that we learn best by practice, meaning my hope is that you don't just watch these classes, but you do the exercises together with me. That's one of the reasons why I deliberately go slow, so that you can follow and you can do the exercises on the site together with me. The second idea is really the 80-20 rule. 1 hour is quite a short period of time, so we're not going to be able to cover everything under the sun, but we're going to cover the basics, and I'm going to tell you exactly where you can go to find the extra bit of information that you need. And the third idea is really that peer-to-peer learning, I think, makes learning a lot more fun. I really appreciate all the volunteers who spend time answering questions of other students on our Discord server app. So if you are new, we have our own Discord server app, which is the place where you can ask questions and get all the updates about future classes. And here is the link to our Discord server app. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, go ahead and do that. And let me show you what we have got there. So if you haven't signed up for a Discord server, go ahead. So I just want to highlight the most important channels for today, and it's going to be the programming exercises channel. So if you have any questions throughout, go ahead and post it here. And at the same time, if you want to share your code with others, this is the place. This is the place that you should be engaging with most actively. So, and there are other channels that you can take a look at after the class, but this is the most important channel for today, the programming exercises channel. Great. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to set up an account on Replit. So for those who haven't signed up for Replit, go ahead and do that. So just a little bit about Replit. Replit is a browser-based coding environment. It's free. And the nice thing is that it allows you to share your code in a very convenient way with others. So go ahead and create a Replit account. And when you have done it, just sound out so that I know that I should move on. Okay. Anyone having issues with creating the Replit account? Everyone's okay with that? Okay, awesome. So let's keep moving then. So what you want to do then is click this red button at the bottom. Go ahead, click that, and then click HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, click that, and you should see this empty website. Okay, so let me explain just the features of Replit here, and then we can start getting into the meat itself, the main stuff. So what I want to show you is if you want to run your code, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just click run and it runs the code for you. And if you want to share your code, what you do is you just hit share, and then you can get the link, and then you can share it on our Discord server app. So those are the two main buttons that you need to know. And the next thing I want to show you is Replit gives you a name automatically for your website. You can change that. So click that, and let's say I'm just going to call this demo workout app. Okay, and you can in fact even see the website that you have built. So Replit takes care of the hosting as well, so that's pretty neat. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by explaining the different tags here. So here's the sequence. We're going to focus on HTML first, and then we're going to move on to CSS, and then at the tail end, we're going to do a little bit of JavaScript. So that's the overall structure of this class. So that being said, right now, let's plunge into HTML. So now, when you take a look at your website, you see this whole list of code in front of you. Now, let me explain what's going on here, line by line. So take a look at line number 1. You have this exclamation point, doc type, HTML. So what this is doing is, when your browser reads an HTML file, the browser needs to know whether it's an HTML file or not. So what this declaration is doing is it's telling your browser that, hey, this is an HTML file. So whenever you create an HTML file, by default, this is the first line that you should include if it hasn't been already included. So that's the first thing you need to be aware of. The second thing is, take a look at this tag, HTML, and then at the tail end, on line number 12, you have the closing of the tag. So you open the tag, and then you close the tag. Think of this as the container for everything that's HTML related on your page. So that's that. Now, after that, there are two other tags you need to be aware of. The first is the head tag, and the second is the body tag. So the body tag is all the parts that are going to be visible to the user, right? Anything that you type in within the body is going to be visible to the user. But whatever is in the head, it's mainly for search engines. It's it isn't directly viewed by the user. It's for things like, what's the title of the page so that you can see it on the tab and so on. So let's go ahead and change, instead of Replit as a title, let's change it to, let's change it to just workout app, for example. Okay. Now, if you run this right now and take a look at the website, now what you find is that in the tab section, the title goes in, right? So that's something to take a look at. Now, but the main action is really going to be in the body, right? That's what we need to be aware of. Now, I just want to highlight two other things very quickly. So this tag here, link href index.css, this is the way to link to your CSS style sheet later on. We're not going to be touching this right now, but we're going to be getting onto that later. And likewise, this tag here is linking the JavaScript file to this page itself. Once again, we'll modify that JavaScript file later on. So let's just take a look at this body file right now. And let's get started. So imagine the name of your fitness app. Let's say it's called Ramp Up, right? Now, that's going to be the headline. That's going to be displayed very prominently. So the way that we do that is we use this tag called h1. Think of it as the kind of the headline, and then you need to close the tag, and then you type in whatever text you want to type in. Let's say ramp, an exclamation point here as well. And if you run it, you should be able to see the text. Now, h1 isn't the only tag. There are many other tags that you can use that are somewhat similar and associated with it. For example, you can use an h2. H2, of course, would be slightly smaller than an h1. Testing this out. Right, and so on. And then there's h3 and h4 and so on. Okay. Now, I want to, at this stage itself, I want to show you a great website to learn all these tags. Not many people remember all these tags. That's perfectly fine. It's called W3 Schools. Let me show you what this is. So this website has the link to practically all the tags that you need to know. And this is a great resource to learn, to take a look at later on. But we're going to cover the basics today. You can take a look at it later on. So we have covered H1s, H2s, H3s. Another tag that you would be using pretty frequently is the paragraph tag. So let's just take this out. Okay, and let's say you want to explain what this product is, right? So we go paragraph, and then you want to close the paragraph, and then let's type out what this app is all about. Let's say we say, look, Ramp Up sends you a notification with a new workout every day. It's stronger every day. We see the workout of the day today. Okay. And then now when you run this, you should see the paragraph pop up. Any questions so far? Is everybody following along? Okay, I'm going to move on to other tags. Okay, I think people are fine here so far. Good. So let's say you want to bold a specific phrase in your paragraph, right? The way that you do that is you use this tag called the strong tag. So let's say you want to emphasize this part, ramp up, right? So what you do is you would say strong, and you close it. And then if you run this again, you should see that it's going to be bolded. In the past, people used to use bold as a tag to just bold the text. But nowadays, because a lot of websites are being rendered on mobile pages, the default is the preferred option is not to use bold, but rather to use strong. And if suppose you want to italicize something, let's say you want to italicize the word every day, what you would say is you want to include the emphasize tag. So you would say EM and close it up this way. And this is going to italicize. Oops. Yep, there we go. It's going to italicize the text for you. Great. So right now, the website is a little plain. It would be nice if we can include an image. Let's say we want to include an image in between the name of the app and the description of the app itself. So the way that we do that is we go ahead and find an image. So let's go to Google Images. Okay. Okay, let's go to Google Images. Let's type in fitness, fitness workout. Okay. Let's go ahead, find an image. And because we want to be compliant, let's go to tools and make sure that we have the rights to use it. Label for reuse. Okay, let's get an image. Okay, let's get this image. So if you want to go get that image, what you do is you, let's open the image in a new tab. Okay, and then let's just copy it. Let's see. Give me a second here. Okay, this is better. Okay, let's copy the image address. So if you want to include an image, what you do is you need to start using the image tag. So the way that it would work is you would say image src. I'm going to explain what that is later on. Src, and then the name, the link itself. And then you're going to type in alt. I'm going to explain what that is as well in a brief second. You're going to describe what this is. This is the, let's say, product demo. And then let's just close it and let's see what happens. Let's run this again. Okay, the image does pop out, but it's way too big. So what we need to do then is we need to include this new attribute called width. Let's try to adjust the width first. Okay, let's say it's 340 pixel. Let's see how that's going to look. Okay, this looks a bit more manageable. Yeah. So let me explain what we just did here. We used the image tag, and then you would have realized that we use these. We have this equal sign here. What is going on here? So what this is called is it's an attribute. So an attribute kind of adds extra layers of details to the tag. So the image tag is just pretty plain. Now you're adding this attribute, and this is the value. The reason why we add this attribute called the alternative text here is because some people have visual disabilities. They can't view pictures, and they use a visual screen reader. The moment you have this alternative screen, alternative text, even if people can't view the image, they can still make sense of the image that you actually put on the website itself. So now the website's kind of shaping up. We have a little bit of an image as well. Suppose you want to include a sign up form. Let's say you want to collect emails for those who are interested. How do we do that? Well, we use the form tag for that. So let's use the form tag. Okay. Close up the form tag. And then within the form tag itself, we need to use the input tag. So we say input type. Let's say we just want to collect emails alone. We go email. I'm going to show you where I got all this stuff from later on so that you can customize your own forms later. And let's say name equal email. This is how we want to store the variable. And then let's say we want to say, look, enter email. Here. Second. I'm going to say enter your email. Okay. Great. Let's put that up. Let's close that up. And then let's have the submit button. So for that, we say input type equal submit. And let's say the value is, we want the text to be welcome to this, join the squad. Okay. This up, and let's see what we've got right now. Okay, great. So we have this form. It's pretty small. It tells you to enter your email here, and then you can click this button. So let's say I type in k.gmail.com, and then I can click it, and then it processes it. Now here's the deal. We are not doing any backend programming here right now. So this data isn't being stored anywhere. So you need to learn backend languages like PHP or Python or Java to do the server-side processing, because right now we're just working on the front end alone. So if you want the data to be saved, you need to include the action attribute here, and then you need to link it with the server. we're not going to focus on that right now because today the focus is going to be solely on the front end alone. So we've kind of gone through the basic text tags, the image tags, and then the form tags. Now I'm going to show you how you can work with lists within HTML. But before I do that, any questions so far? Anyone having any issues? All right, I think everything is good. Excellent. Okay, great. So I'm going to show you how, let's say you want to build a leaderboard. You want to display the people who have been hitting a streak when it comes to these workouts. How can you do that? So the way that you do that is you use what's called a list. Let me show you how that works. So there are two types of lists. You have unordered lists and you also have ordered lists. So suppose you want to use an unordered list. So what you do is you say UL and then you close it up. Okay. And then within the unordered list, you have list items. So list items, and then you got to close it up. And let's say the people who use our app are entrepreneurs, and let's say they have been hitting a fitness streak. So let's say we have Elon Musk, who has a 7-day streak. Okay, and let's say we also have Jack Dorsey, who has a 6-day streak. Okay, and let's say we also have Larry Page, who has a 5 days streak. When you take a look at this, let's see what we get. Scroll down, you see that you have this unordered list here. Now, because this is a leaderboard, okay, first of all, we need to include some kind of a heading before that, otherwise people would not be able to make sense of it. So let's put H for let's call this leaderboard. Okay, leader, and I'll just call it a fitness streak. Fitness streak. Run this again. Great. Now, this is an unordered list. This isn't super helpful because clearly somebody who has done 7 days and has hit a 7-day streak is better than somebody who has hit a 6-day streak. So the way that we get an ordered list is very simple. Instead of UL, you use OL, which stands for ordered list, and you put that in. And let's run it again. And now you're going to see it numerated. Okay. Now the next thing I want to show you is how links work within HTML, how that tag works specifically. So the link tag is the anchor tag, it's the A tag. So suppose you want to link let's say you want to link this part, right, to some kind of a website or your own page itself. The way that you do that is you start out by saying A, close this, and then you're going to say A, and then you're going to type out href. Let's say we want to use a absolute link itself. Let's say we just want to link it to Google for the time being. We just want to practice. www.google.com, and then you want to close out the A tag as well, right? So then you close this up, and then when you run this, you see you find that you have got this link right now. And now if you click this, wait a second. Let's see. Now it brings you to Google. Now I want to show you W3 and how it's a helpful resource. So imagine you're working on links and you want to learn more about the attributes that you can use using links itself. So W3 Schools is a great resource. So let me show you what are some of the attributes that you can work on on links, and we can apply some of those. So if you take a look at this section, it says, look, the target attribute specifies where to open the link documents. And this is interesting. It says, look, if you specify the target attribute as _blank, it opens up the link document in a new window or tab. That's great. So let's say we want to use this attribute right away. We just go ahead, copy it, and let's apply it right now itself. So right now, when we click the link, it opens up within the tab that we are in right now itself. So let's go ahead and specify that we want to open it up in a new tab. So run it again. And now when you click the link, it opens up the link in a new tab, right? That's super helpful. Great, so that's links for us very quickly. Any questions about the stuff that we have covered so far? Before I proceed on to things like divisions, classes, and how all of that works. Okay, great. Now, at this stage, I want to show you how we can create a new website and link it to this specific link itself. So right now we have our index.html. Let's go ahead and create a new HTML file called workout.html. And the idea is whatever is the workout of the day, we're going to place the video for that on that specific website. So that's the idea. So let's go ahead. Let's create this new HTML file called workout.html. Now it's a blank page, so we got to type out the setup. So things like doc type. So the way we start is always by typing out the doc type. So doc type HTML. So this is going to tell the browser that, hey, you're working with an HTML file. And remember, we always have the head, and then close the head up. So we need to have the HTML tag first. HTML. Close the HTML container up. Head tag. Let's close the head tag up. And then we have the body tag. And then we're going to close the body tag up. Right now, we're creating the workout website, and this is where we're going to host a video so that people can do the workout on this page itself. Okay, and let me just go ahead and copy some of the setup here so that we can save some time. Okay, let's go ahead, copy that. Okay, and that should be in the head section. Sorry about that. Head section, and then let's get to the body section. So the body section, we're going to start with H1 workout. Okay. Great. Now, remember, we want to link this specific section to this new website that we have. So the way that we do that is we go to index.html. Instead of saying, bring me to google.com, we just say, look, because it's in the same folder, we just say, bring me to workout.html. Now, if we run this again, it's going to bring you to this new page that we just created. Okay, so the idea was, the hope was, look, we wanted to host a video on this new page, right? So let's go ahead, let's go to YouTube and try to find a video, a fitness video, youtube.com/oflex. I mean, that's a great website to find fitness workouts. Okay, they have all these high intensity interval training workouts. So let's go ahead and pick one. Let me show you how you can embed that within your website itself. So let's find one. Okay, this is good. Okay, great. So this looks like a good workout. The way that we embed it is we go to share, button, embed, and then it gives you an iframe. An iframe means it's an inline frame. So think of it as kind of like a window within your website to this specific YouTube video. So let's go ahead, let's copy that. And let's paste it on our workout page, okay? Great. Now if we run this again, let's click this. There we go. So we see that it brings us to this workout of the day page, and you can now play the YouTube video. Right. I want to pause here. Any questions so far about this? Okay, any questions so far before we get on to buttons and how things such as divisions, classes, and IDs works? So one of the questions that came up was whether HTML is case sensitive. And the answer is, in most cases, it isn't. But when it comes to things like ID and class attributes, and we're going to focus on that later on, it is in fact case sensitive. So instead of H1 typing it in small case, if I type it in uppercase, it's not going to make a difference. But when it comes to class attributes and ID attributes, it is in fact case sensitive. We're going to cover that later on. Also, if there's any code snippet that that you find confusing, just ask, and I can share this link with you, and so that you can going to be on even pace with everybody else. Okay, let's keep moving. So let's go ahead and let's try to create a button on our workout page app. So imagine we want to say, look, after somebody has completed a workout, we want to congratulate them. We want to track that. So the way that we would do that is, let's go ahead. Let's use what's called a button tag. Let's say button. And close that button. And let's say just completed it. Just completed. Run that right now. And then go ahead and take a look at your workout HTML page. You can see this link pop out. It's a bit small. It doesn't look nice when it comes to styling and so on. We're going to focus on that later on. So I want to move on to divisions and classes and IDs. So let's go back to index.html. Now, right now, the way that the thing is, our HTML code is just one block, and it isn't the best way to organize it. It would be nice if we can organize our content in divisions so that later on, if you want to style, let's say specifically the fitness streak section, or the product description section, you can do that in a discrete manner as opposed to styling everything at the same time. So you want to kind of containerize it. So that's when divisions come in handy. So divisions are useful ways to kind of separate your code out into distinct blocks. So let me show you the way that we can perhaps organize the code that we have here right now. So for example, let's say we have this whole description section, right, to describe what our app is doing. So you could store this in a division. So to do that, you would start with a bracket, open bracket, division, and then close this up. And then see, just storing it in a division isn't that helpful. It's helpful if you can also name it. So there are two types of names that you can use. You can either classify it as a class or as an ID. So when it comes to an ID, it only applies to a specific element. Imagine you want to specifically target a H1 or a specific paragraph. That's when you would be using an ID attribute. Otherwise, you use a class attribute. So in this case, let's say we say, look, we want to save this as the description class. Okay, great. And let's say we want to also save the leaderboard as a separate class. Right? This whole fitness streak section, we want to save that as a separate class. Do that, division class equal leaderboard. Close this up here. Great. Okay, and suppose right now you want to name the form ID. Right now there's no name to the form itself. So let's say create the ID, subscribe form. The reason why we're doing this would become a lot more evident later on when we start doing the CSS formatting. So because the moment you have these specific classes and IDs, it's an easy way for you to refer to them and style these individual sections. And we can, of course, go back and add additional classes and IDs later on. So now let's go to our CSS page and start adding some color to this site right now. So the way that you do that is you go to index.css. It's all going to be empty right now. And the way that you do that is, so here's the syntax when it comes to CSS commands. You have a selector, and then you have the property, and then you specify the value, right? So let me give you an example here. Imagine you want to, let's say, the whole body of the website, you want it to be light blue. So you would say body attribute is background color. And then you can specify the color that you want, that you choose. So let's say I want light blue. Now, if you run this, the whole website's going to be light blue. Okay. Now, once again, you may be wondering, where do I get all these attributes? Where do I know what are the right selectors? Once again, W3 School is the go-to resource here. So imagine you go to W3 Schools, you go to CSS. They specify exactly what are the attributes that you can, the selectors and the attributes that you can play with in a very detailed manner. So this is the go-to link. And I'm going to demonstrate some of the main selectors here. So let's go ahead and let's say we want to centralize the H1. So the way that we do that is we say H1 text align center. Okay, and let's say we want our H1 to be in the color white. Okay, now let's run this again right now. Now you find that the H1 has in fact been centralized. So let's say we want to modify the paragraph section. So how would we do that? We would say paragraph. I'm going to show you how you can modify classes and IDs later on. Just give me a second here. So paragraph, let's say we would say I want the size to be 100 pixels. Let's say that I want the color to be white as well. And let's say I want the font to be 15 pixel in Arial. I want it to be sans. Yeah, let's just try this. Right, great. Now, if you go to CS tutorials at W3 Schools, imagine you want to look at the paragraph tag. Okay. So it specifies exactly what are the things that you can change and you can play with it. I want to show you something else that's pretty cool here. imagine you want to have a light border. You would just say border style dotted. Right? Once again, there's no expectation that you remember all of these things. You take a look at the documentation, and that's the place to go to learn all of this stuff. But I just wanted to give you a sense of what are some of the things that you can do here. Okay. So right now, when you take a look at our enter your email site, it looks kind of small. Let's say you want to make it, you want to expand it, right? You want to elongate it, you want to lengthen it out a little bit. So the way that you would do that is, first of all, you need to make sure that your email entry component has an ID name of its own. So let's just call it, let's call it ID equal email underscore input. So we're calling this specific section email underscore input. Now that we have done that, we can go to CSS and say, look, I want, now here's the thing, if you want to refer to an ID, you would have the hashtag symbol and then the specific name of the ID itself, email input. And let's say I want the width to be 70%. Let's go ahead, let's do that. Let's see how it looks. Okay, this looks pretty good. And let's say you want to add some padding, so some space around it. Let's do that. Let's add padding 10 pixels. Let's see how it looks. I want to emphasize that this is an iterative process. You can play around with the numbers and see what looks good, what doesn't look good, and so on. Okay. All right. So far, any questions before we keep on showing you a couple of other CSS tricks that you can do? So one of the questions that you all had was whether CSS, when it comes to writing CSS commands, you need the semicolon at the end of the statement. The answer is yes, because if you don't, it's not going to process it. So let me show you what happens if I take away this semicolon. The padding isn't going to come in. So you definitely need to include the semicolon at the end of the specific line. The reason why you include this semicolon is you want to indicate that you're moving on to the next property. So it's a way of demarcating which property you're working with. So 70% of the value is only for the width property. 10%, 10 pixels is for the padding property. So that's why you want to demarcate that using the semicolon. Now, suppose you want to work on, I want to show you how you can work on classes. So let me show you. Let's go back to HTML. Let's take a look at a class here. Let's say we have this leaderboard class, right? Let's say we want to align the text here. So the way that we would do that is, so we're working with this class and we want to align the text here, right? So the way that we would do that is we'll go to index.css. So when it comes to an ID, you use the hashtag symbol, but when it comes to a class, you use the dot symbol. You use dot, and then you say, look, it's the leaderboard. Let me check that. Okay. And let's say we want to align the text. Text, align, center. Okay. On that. And then now you find that the text has in fact been aligned. But this looks a bit messy. Let's say we don't want to align the list itself, but just the H4. The way that we would do that is we would make sure that the H4 has a specific ID name. Let's say the ID name for that is, let's just say it's LB title, leaderboard title. ID equal LB title. And I just want you to modify just that ID, not the whole class itself. So LB underscore title. And now if we run this, it's going to look a little neater. The list itself hasn't been centralized, but the H4 itself has been centralized here right now. Okay. I want to show you something else that's pretty cool on W3 Schools. So let me pull up that website right now for you. So W3 School is really, really handy. So let's say we want to take a look at what are some of the cool things that we can do using forms on CSS. Let's see what they've got. They have lots of interesting stuff there. And let's say you are interested to style the input button, because right now it looks kind of boring here, right? Join the squad looks kind of boring. And let's say you take a look at this and let's see what they've got here. So it says, look, input type, you specify it, and then you can work with this. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and let's play with this. Let's try how this looks on our website. So in our case, we don't need input type reset. We just need button, sorry, submit. So let's take out all this unnecessary stuff. Let's say the background color, let's say you want it to be, let's say you want it to be kind of reddish. So let's say we just want it to be tomato color. Okay. And let's say we don't want a border. We want the color to be white. And let's have padding. And let's take out text decoration. We don't need that. Let's add a bit of margin. Let's take this out as well. Let's see how it looks. Okay, this looks a lot neater. Looks a lot more attractive right now. So the key thing I want to emphasize here is W3 Schools is a great resource. You could go ahead, take a look at their beginner topics, the advanced topics, and kind of play around and try things out. It's a phenomenal resource. So any questions about that right now, before I go on to show you a little bit of how you can work with JavaScript as well. So this is one of the questions that people had as well, which was, right now our CSS styling is in an external sheet, but that's not the only place that you can do CSS styling. You can also have it as an internal sheet within the HTML document, and you can also do it inline within the tag itself. But it's highly recommended that you do it as an external sheet because it just keeps your code a lot more organized. So the preference should always be to do CSS in the external style sheet as opposed to doing it internally or inline itself. And the way CSS works is that it's a cascading style sheet. So what takes precedence is the inline styling that you dictate, and then that just overrides everything else that you do, whether it's in the internal or external style sheet. So preferably just do all the styling in the external style sheet and then link it up. Okay, in the little time that we have, I'm going to show you how you can add a little bit of JavaScript and interactivity to your website. So let's go to index.html. So right now, when you go to index.html, when you take a look at the tail end, you find that you have in fact included this script tag, and it links you to this index.javascript right now. But right now it's completely empty, right? So let's say we just want to play around and we want to add this alert JavaScript. So that the way alert works is that it just gives you a pop-out message. So let's just do alert, and then let's type in hello, welcome to my site. Okay, let's run this site again. Right now you get this pop-out message. Okay, that's kind of neat. Let's say you want to have a little bit more interactivity. Let's say you want to add a function such that the moment somebody hits join the squad, they receive like a message, like a pop-out message. How would we do that? Now, take a look at this specific button here on our index.html site. So what's the ID tag here? So if you want to manipulate the HTML using JavaScript, you need to know the specific ID tag that you're working with. So in this case, let's see, we don't have an ID tag right now. Let's go ahead and create an ID tag. Let's just call it, call it email entry. Okay, great. Now let's go to index.html, index.js. Let's take this line out. And what we want to specify is, look, JavaScript, when somebody hits that specific button, I want you to activate a specific function. So the way that we would do that is, let me show you how it works. We would say document.get element by ID, and then enter the name of the specific ID that you're targeting. And in this case, it's email underscore entry dot add event listener. So you're saying, look, listen to this specific element. And when you get the click, these are all the options, when it comes to listening. Let's say I want to look at click. And I want you to activate this function called, let's say, confirmation. Okay. So what's happening here is I'm saying to the JavaScript, look, when this element has been clicked, I want you to activate this function. But we don't have the function yet. We need to create the function. And the way functions work in JavaScript is you say function, the name of the function, and then you open up the curly braces, and then you type in what you want JavaScript to process. So let's say we just want it to say alert and say thank you for subscribing. Look out for a confirmation email. Now let's say we run this right now. Let's go ahead. Oops. k.gmail.com. We click this, right? You get this alert message. So we added a little bit of interactivity to our website. So once again, W3 is a great resource to figure out exactly what are some of the tricks that you can do using JavaScript, some interactivity that you can add. The places that I would highlight are specifically the JS HTML DOM section. It shows you the way that you can manipulate the HTML on your website using JavaScript itself. So the JavaScript component, I didn't want to get too deep into that. So we're kind of running out of time, but what I wanted to do was kind of a mini exercise. So we've kind of picked up a little bit of HTML, JavaScript, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So here's the deal. Right now, so when you take a look at so first of all, this isn't responsive. You need to use what's called Twitter Bootstrap to do that. We'll focus on that in another class. But right now, when you take a look at a workout of the day page, it looks kind of boring, right? So here is the short assignment for those who have a little bit of time today. That is, go ahead, spend about 10 minutes, right? Use W3 as a resource. And what I want you to do is add some spice to the daily workout page itself. There are a number of things you can do, right? You can add a little bit of interactivity on the button. Maybe when somebody clicks that, they get a message, some kind of an image. You can resize the video so that the embedded video so that it looks a bit more attractive. So spend the next 10 minutes so that you can apply the skills that we have learned. And whatever you have done, go ahead and share that on our programming exercises channel. And at 3:35, let's come back and let's see what we have got, right? So take 10 minutes and apply the skills that we have learned. And if you have any questions at this stage, feel free to ask me. So just take the next 10 minutes and use W3 as your reference and work on the workouts.html page. Oh, and this is something that I want to emphasize as well. You need to create a new CSS page and link it with workouts.html. So the way that it would work is, let me just quickly show that to you. You would say, look, workout.css. So we have created a new CSS page. Let's go ahead and also create a JavaScript page for that. And we want to link both these files to workout.html. So the way that we would do that is in the head itself, let's copy this. In the head, you want to say, instead of index.css, you want it to be workout.css so that you can apply your own customized CSS for this page. And likewise, you want to link the JavaScript. You would say script. And this usually the script tag for JavaScript goes in at the tail end because it takes a long time to load. And instead of index, you would say workout.js. All right, take another 5 more minutes and then let's get back and let's see what you've done. Okay, another 2 more minutes. Go ahead and share whatever you have on our programming exercises channel. I know the time is a bit limited, but the idea was that I just wanted to give you a flavor of this, and I wanted you to apply what you have learned as well. Okay, 1 more minute, and then let's get back. Okay, guys, let's get back. If you have done any kind of editing on the page, just go ahead and share that so that I can share it with the rest of the class. I mean, 10 minutes isn't a long time, so it's fine if it doesn't look great. So go ahead and share that on programming exercises. And the way that you do that is you go to Replit and you find the share button at the very top, and then you share it on the programming exercises channel. Do we have any volunteers to share what they have done so far? All right, no worries. I know 10 minutes is a very short time to work on your own CSS edits for a page. So feel free to work on that and feel free to share that on the programming exercises channel so that others can take a look at it later on. So what's next? Next week at the same time, we have a class on cryptocurrencies that's being led by Steven Lubka, who is a friend of mine. So that's going to happen at the same time next week. And 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be teaching an introduction to SQL, and that's going to be 5:30 p.m. EST on Sunday, which is 2:30 p.m. PST. And if you're interested to take a look at other classes that we have, letslearn.carcisio is the page to take a look at. And let me just show you how that page looks like. You can go ahead and sign up for the classes here. I'm also adding additional classes in the future, and I'm also trying to get extra instructors to offer new things. So if you have any ideas or if you want to teach something to the community as well, go ahead and just message me on Discord, and then we can see what we can do. I hope that you found this helpful. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to direct message me or post it on the programming exercises channel. Thank you so much, everybody.